I got the recipe, never gonna let any op get the best of me. Thought it was distance, but haters is next to me. Talk to the spirit, you know I've been heavenly. Company definitely show your trajectory. This ain't a diss cause I say it respectfully. It's time to eat up, bread like a speeder. Taking it deeper and that's how it better be. I never let the comparison get to me. I just remember the promises meant for me. I know the enemy and that he's sent for me. I keep the blood of the lemons, my centerpiece. I cannot trust in no crystals or energy. Look at the chemistry, it do not even mix chemically. Most of the tricks they be gimmicks, they mimic the truth. It's poison and we got the remedy.
Music licensing reimagined.
Apply it, the fire can stand to the tallest of giants, the tyrant and all the
I actually like enjoyed the movie. My wife was actually watching it again also, and she said that she couldn't get into it because she said it got to her pretty much because she's like she said she feels like they really do shit like this, and I told her, I said that at some point it definitely can happen, but she was like, what if you find out like this really happened? She was like, are you liable to get murdered? I'm like, of course. I mean, the government's always in the shady shit. So like, I don't know. I'm pretty certain like both of you guys actually watched the movie. So what is your take on like Cloned Tyrone?
You want to go first, Rick?
You can go first. Ladies first.
Why, thank you. So I have to watch it again just because after I watched it, I actually watched KT, the arts degree, and he kind of broke it down on the decoding. And now I need to go back and watch it again with some of the knowledge from someone that has just more of an understanding on the root words of things and what the meaning of certain words are, and like his name Fontaine. And just because it's like they clone Tyrone and then you don't realize that he's Tyrone until the end of the movie and you're like, oh, that's Tyrone, but the whole time his name was Fontaine. So regarding the cloning, I feel like that's something that's been taking place for a while. I think that I don't know if they're cloning in the hood. I don't know if they're doing like cloning in the hood like that. I mean, they are kind of producing these the people that they want based off of the music and the food. So I do believe that based off of like them having different type of music and that type of frequency basically can make you change your mood, so you can be very violent or you can be very loving. So I definitely believe in that. I believe that they do put things in the food. But the cloning in the hood, I'm not too sure yet. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. I don't know if they're saying like this is the type of people that they're producing because they're contaminating our music and our food. So it's kind of like there's always going to be a pimp, always going to be a hoe, always going to be a drug dealer just because of we know how to control you. That was one of the things in there that they were like controlling people with, I forget the word, but they was, using a word to kind of like make them freeze, make them do things. So that's my take on the movie so far until I watch it again now with some of the knowledge that I have.
How about you, Rick? What do you think about it?
Honestly, I just thought it was an entertaining movie, and I didn't really delve too deep into it because, I mean, we are in some really, precarious times right now, with what everything's going on in the world. So whenever stuff like this comes on, I just take it at face value as far as to it being just entertainment. Do I believe that, the US is cloning or have been cloning for a while? Honestly, I don't. But at the same time, whatever movie you look at, you can get whatever you can get from it. And then from there, it's a matter of fact checking. Like this movie, I could look at it as society currently as it is in the hood. Fontaine, you can look at him as the young black male in America, and as well as Jamie Foxx being the OG, and Homegirl a poor representation of the black woman, but at the end, she was still trying to strive to be better. And then the whole entire process with how they are cloning people and how they are contaminating the food and the frequency of the music, which would then equal some kind of mind control. I would look at that like you can see how you can see the similarities in that versus in real life. For example, the current state of hip hop. If you really want to make money, you got to talk about shaking your ass and drinking whatever kind of drugs you can drink or what have you, and not have a real message to it. And you can make mad money on it. And that's the record label trying to pretty much take something away from us that was made by us to make it their tool in regards for keeping people docile or keeping people misinformed or keeping people subdued. As far as with the food, that's been going on for I don't know how long with what they're doing with the food. And a lot of it has to do with them trying to cut corners, make more money by doing this, that, and the other, or adding this artificial preservative with respect to it lasting longer, having a longer shelf life. Bottom line behind that and the food industry, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Because you can sit, I bet you if you sit and watch the commercials, about 80% of them is about food and not
Right.
good food, not food good for you. But yet and still, you see the lines at the takeout joints around the corner on some days. I'm guilty of it myself, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what they're putting in the food, but my body seems to agree with it. Up until a certain age, then your body's gonna be like, okay, I had enough of this. So I could see the reflection in them contaminating the food as well as what's going on in real life. So they say that art is a reflection of real life. I mean, a lot of that, what's going on in that movie, touched on some, for me, realistic things, but I just try to keep it within the realm of reality as far as to, is this really possible, and how would something like this be possible? Or is this just another conspiracy theory?
I totally agree with that. I just, in my opinion, to sum it up, from what I see when I watch that movie, I really think that I wouldn't say that the art. I would say that they're experimenting on us to clone us, in my opinion. But I also do think, like you mentioned, like the stuff that they're like added in the food, added in like hair products. Um, I do honestly think that that's been happening for quite some time, and even it's also like you said, to get the rich richer pretty much, and to get these pharmaceutical companies like richer. You know, we can pretty much get sick, so they can, pharmaceutical companies can get, more wealthy. I'll say that. Um, in fact, I think watching like movies like that, for some reason, it's always like some truth to the fiction every time when you watch certain movies. Like it's just like I said, I noticed when I don't I'm not sure if you guys remember, like back in I would say about maybe like 10 years ago, when we were on the verge of actually going to war with North Korea, all of a sudden you see a movie, Olympus Has Fallen, coming out, and it's like, all right, then they have like all these other like, phenomenals about UFOs. We got a slew of movies coming out, UFOs, and whether it's extraterrestrials and Area 51. It's like, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm just not surprised if something like that did exist or if it actually did happen. Like, because they're kind of like giving us, like, I would say, like samples of like things through movies um and music in general. As far as the frequency goes, I do know that from what I'm hearing, like, and I've had done my research on it, that Father Rockefellers was also responsible in changing up the frequencies when it comes to like different types of music. I think they said back in the day the frequencies was like as low as a point 0.4 or something like that, and now it's a 0.8 or whatever. Like and this has been, I guess, it changed within the last between 5 and 10 years, and it's like, all right, and they said that's why a lot of people, like, their mood's been changing as of like the last few years. Like everything's been, you notice everything's like very bizarre in the world right now. That's what I'm looking at. So I definitely do agree with that. Like that frequency issue, I definitely do. Again, like you said, walking inside a grocery aisle, like you have to obviously like be cautious what you eat these days. In fact, you already know what Putin's doing in his country. Like, he banned all chemicals, like, food from his country, pretty much. Like, he's giving actually people money to actually, like, farm and grow their own food and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But the U.S., like you said, one thing comes down to, it's all about filling their pockets, which sucks, but it is what it is. So glad we was able to touch on that. Now, how about the whole? I know we don't want to get into it, but how about the whole like 50 Cent compared to Michael Jackson's album? I know it's like kind of weird. Like I just didn't understand that.
I want whatever the fuck he was smoking that night, and to fix his mouth and say that, because he got that good thinking that Get Rich or Die Trying was better than Thriller. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion or whatever, and I can dig his opinion. Watch next season on Power featuring Jcole. Watch.
Right.
And he just gave up his audition to 50, and 50 might have proved that though. But realistically, I mean, I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, so I'm gonna give you a biased opinion. I don't care.
Right.
Of course.
Thriller.
Right.
Thriller.
And
Thriller defined a era in Black music. Thriller, that thing, we're not talking about locally. We're talking about, when you're talking about the numbers of records he sold or albums he sold, which was harder to do back in the day, that thing is worldwide, not local, worldwide. Is 50 Cent known as an MC? Not talking about him doing Power or whatever, but just as an MC, is he recognized worldwide, or is it just local love? Or is it just like pockets of heads overseas liking him? Versus with MJ, he was damn near universally loved, except in America when they try to bring him down with those child molestation charges, which to this day I don't believe. But I mean, I think he might have got caught up in the moment. He's on stage with one of his rap idols, and got the Vaseline out for that particular moment, yo.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
I disagree. So I would like to speak on that. I feel like that's his platform. Like I think I told you fellas. That's his platform. And that's what I was gonna say. And it's gonna be impossible for anyone to be better than Michael Jackson. No one's ever gonna say that anyone's better than Michael Jackson. Like Michael Jackson can just stand there and this person can put on a full show and you'll be like, Michael Jackson was better. All I'm saying is the icons, no one ever wants to say someone did better than them. No one knows if Get Rich or Die Trying help Jcole out in certain situations. So therefore he feels like he can relate to that album more than Thriller. So that's why he's speaking from his point of view on his platform. So it's kind of like, and I love me some Jcole. I love me some Jcole. I love me some Michael Jackson. But at the end of the day, it's like no one wants to speak on someone being better than Michael Jackson or Aretha Franklin or Patti LaBelle, and there are some great singers out there that can sing some of them Patti LaBelle songs or those Aretha Franklin songs and sound just as good. But it's like you're never going to give them that credit and say that they did better, or you be, oh, she tore that song up, but you're never going to say, oh, she did better than this person. And I just feel like everyone is definitely entitled to their opinion. He might have not been high. That might just be his honest opinion. He might be starring on Power. We might see him over there on Power, but
right, he got passed.
I don't know. He shot he shot his shot. I mean, he's like, listen, Thriller can't do nothing for me right now, so I gotta holler at 50. Right. So like that's all I'm saying.
I mean, just like you said too, it's his opinion. I think it might have probably came off a little bit better if he says, well, in my opinion, instead of stating it like it's a fact. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Because just like you said, he's entitled to his opinion, but you shouldn't fall into the trap of trying to make your opinion out to be fact.
But he never said it was a fact. It's all on how you take it too. It's all on how you perceive it. He never said, oh, it's definitely a fact. Like you can sit up here and say, you just said he got this many albums and he got this. These are all facts that you spit in as far as like his albums and worldwide. And these are facts that you're spitting. But as far as you saying Thriller's better, that's your opinion because that's something that you feel. But the facts is the paper trails. So, I mean, he's definitely speaking facts. That's the reason why at the end of it, he said, I don't give a fuck. Because if you speak in facts, you're like, oh, I got the receipts. Like you have things. But if you know that is something that you feel and somebody's going to eventually disagree with you, you're going to definitely end it with, I don't give a fuck what nobody got to say. That's just how it goes when you speaking in opinion, you know, if
Yeah.
we're really being real. He didn't say in my opinion, but the way that he ended it, we knew that that was something that he felt. So, in my opinion.
Plus,
Yeah.
he knew he was going to get the backlash. That's why he said that.
Yeah.
And
That,
but
well,
I give him credit because he stood by it. I give him his
he
props. He stood
definitely
by
did
it.
it. I respect it. I respect it. If you stand by it, then you solid.
So
You saying what it is.
right.
You're not switching up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's going on nowadays is that you can't disagree with somebody without it being some kind of conflict instead of you just agreeing to disagree.
Yeah.
Facts.
I personally think, in my opinion, I don't think that you can compare. Again, I'll keep saying this. You cannot compare Get Rich Die Trying to Thriller. I do know for a fact that Get Rich Die Trying was a classic, considered to be a classic album by all means, just like Thriller on the other hand was. Maybe that's the only way that he can kind of compare it. But I just don't think you compare that pop/rock album to that hardcore rap album, in my opinion. I had an experience one day. I was actually on my way to work, and I was actually on a bus one summer when Get Rich Die Trying came out. I will say there was a whole entire street. There was about at least 10 cars that was playing that album. In my opinion, that's when you know you have a good album, especially if everybody at the same time is listening to shit. But on the other hand, like I said, comparing again Michael Jackson's Thriller to Get Rich Die Trying is, like I said, it just to me it doesn't make any sense. But like you said, it's his truth. This is how he feels, and like you said, you got no choice but to respect it. I just don't understand where that logic came from him to compare Get Rich Die Trying to Michael Jackson's Thriller. Maybe the album sales, probably, but as far as like the actual genre itself, I just can't agree with that. It just to me it doesn't make any sense. He felt some type of way, and like you said, maybe he's trying to get that lead role on Palace or something like that, or a co-star or something. Who knows? But I fucks with Jcole also. Like I love his music, but I just think he I would say he jumped the gun a little bit. I'm just being honest. Like there's people that don't really like 50 Cent, but a lot of people like Michael Jackson. A lot of people. Just like a lot of people, mostly everybody that I came across since I believe since I started listening to music. Not one person I heard them say that they do not like Michael Jackson's Thriller. I've never heard anybody say that at all. But I've heard people say, 50 Cent's album is all right, but it's not great. It's okay. I mean, I've heard that. That's why I'm like, I can't really understand why like he would even say something like that. I wish I could get more perspective on why he even said that, in my opinion. Like why, how did you compare that album to that particular album? That's what I'm trying to get. Like, I just don't understand it, and I think I never will. That's why I kind of looked at him like, are you kidding me? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, Thriller, the patiently waiting to end the club, the with the pretty young thing. Like, come on. Like, you just can't. Like, I don't understand it. I'm just trying to figure that out. So
depends on how it hits you, because it probably hit him in a particular way, because like a lot of music you can associate to a good time or a bad time in your life. And
right.
maybe 50 had a bigger impact on him in his life and what he was going through than MJ. Maybe he could relate more to what 50 was spitting versus, you know, the love and everything like that MJ was spitting. So to him, in his view, you know, yeah, my thing is just don't make it sound like it's fact. Like, you know, to me, it's this, or, you know, this. And just like you said, Sean, some kind of context behind it. You know, when I was going through my thing, 50 helped me get through a lot of rough times. So to me, okay, I can dig that then.
Yep. All facts.
That's probably going to be what his answer is. I said probably going to be his answer is when this back up. He's probably going to let you know why. Or he might not. Jcole being Jcole, he can do what he wants. But he's probably gonna let you know. And that's what I was trying to say. Like, it could have been something that impacted him. Like during that time, this song helped him out for this. So, I mean, there's songs that I can relate to, because Thriller is a good song. It's a very entertaining song. But like, what are you going through that song Thriller may help you through? You might be happy, but I'm just saying from my point of view, and I'm gonna get all the backlash. But like, Thriller probably didn't help him out in like a situation.
Real.
It's fun. it's entertaining. It was something new, dressed up like that, doing those dances. Like Michael Jackson's definitely a creator. So we're looking at like he's an original, he's this, he's that. And that song may have it's entertaining for him, but maybe, you know, Get Rich or Die Trying kind of spoke to Jcole through his times or through whatever he was going through. I know many men definitely spoke to a lot of people in the hood, a lot of guys in the hood. They love that song. Like, you know, so it could have reached them at in a different time in their life. You know, like when we were young, Michael Jackson was kind of entertaining. It was fun. Our parents was listening to it. Kind of got passed down generation. So when a song resonates with you because you like the song, not because it was passed down generation. That's all I'm saying. He might not even say that. He might debunk my whole theory. And I'm like, dang, Jcole, I just, you know what I'm saying? I'm over here. But all I'm saying is some songs resonate with people a little bit more than others, regardless to who the idol is. And it probably was not. I know it wasn't personal towards Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson, and anybody trying to attack Michael Jackson, he was out here trying to heal the world, make it a better place.
It sure was. So let me ask you guys this. I'm gonna lay it on you, man. So what would be, or what was, or what is a song, or even an album that put you, basically got you through either good times or bad times? I'm gonna start with you, Rick.
I got a lot because I've been through the storm and yeah. One album that sticks out to me, Tribe Called Quest, what do you call it? Love Moment. And there was a song on there. What's Love Moment? Was it Love Moment or was it Midnight Marauders? The song that Stressed Out was on. The album.
I thought it was Midnight Marauders.
It might have been. I think it was Midnight Marauders, or it wasn't a Love Moment, but the album that had, because I'm sipping on that yak, so excuse me for that. But the album that had Stressed Out on it, that saw me through a lot of times because the brother at that time was stressed. So I would say that particular song itself saw me through some dark times.
How about you, Ms. French?
Okay, so I want to say for me, it took me a while to start finding songs that wasn't too hood. Because I listened to a lot of hood songs that got me through some things like Machiavelli Crazy. That was one of my favorite songs.
Yes, indeed.
I love Crazy from Machiavelli. And then Busy Bone, Demons Surround Me All the Time. That was my song. But for the most part, I like to listen to just straight beats and then just kind of let my mind flow and then just, just write. I like to write to beats. I like to just listen listen to the music without listening to somebody else's lyrics. I could write my own story to the beats. But flowetry, that's my jam too. I rocks with some flowetry, got me through it too. Sunshine, that was my song. Like, some
Butterflies.
I like listen, Butterflies, but it's when the poetry is in the music. That's what I like, when you're saying something and you're speaking to the soul, not just just kind of ride beat, or you're just saying something repetitive. It's like it's deep. It's a deeper message. So when I hear certain people and the message is deeper, that's kind of what resonates with me. So if I don't hear it, I'm like, let me hear this. And beats though will resonate with me, and I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I love poetry, so it's a few that touch me, but yeah. What about you, Sean?
Marilyn Manson.
So during that. Okay, so when I was growing up, I was listening to everything. Like my house pretty much was like a diverse household when it came to music. Like there was days when like my stepfather back in the day, he was a DJ, so he listened to pretty much everything. So I want to say, like, going through that time, I remember, in fact, Michael Jackson's Bad album, like, when I was growing up, got me through, like, some pretty harsh times. Growing up in the PJs, that's all we pretty much listened to. As I got older, like, in my, like, early teens, it was that phase when I kind of wanted to, like, venture out and, like, listen to more music. I am a Marilyn Manson fan, but I know crazy motherfuckers, but again, I was going through a pretty wild time, and I know some of his music kind of resonated with me also. He was a drug addict. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a drug addict, but I used to pop pills when I was in school. Nobody really knew about it, so I was on that shit too. Um, but yeah, like mostly like I was listening to like Redman. He got me through some dark times, man. Like his music was kind of dark too, but it also made sense. He used to smoke like a chimney, just like I was when I was growing up. So I mean, he got me through those times. But yeah, like it's what was it? There's the Dark Side of Thoughts. That's my favorite album of all time by Redman. Classic. Yeah, I was growing up listening to that. So those are just my go-tos when I'm in the mood. So yeah. I think it's a Gemini. I mean, one day I'll probably wake up and listen to like a whole jazz album. next day I'll probably listen to some like I don't know some Bob Marley something like that. It is what it is. Like that's how I am. It is what it is.
I don't think
So
it might be the Gemini you. I think that that's what a
well,
lot of people do though, just because like you don't want to stay on the same frequency, for the whole time. So you want to shift your mood. Sometimes you want to be chill, so you might listen to a little neo soul music, and then sometimes you want to be picked up, so you might listen to some Afro beats. So, if it got you through something that was dark and lifted you up, then it was something that was resonating with your soul, and that's what you needed to hear. So music is always like the natural healer. That's the number one thing. Even when you're in your mother's womb, you hear, echoes and things like that. You don't hear no one speaking clearly. You just hear, it's muffled. So music definitely heals you.
Soundtrack of life.
Okay. So I want to ask you guys again. I'm gonna ask you guys. Oh, this is the first time I ask you. So
this is a trivia show today, huh?
It sure is.
Let me refill my taste right quick, man. We getting deep. Let me refill my taste off the top that smiggity smack.
So since you did say this, Ray, what is your the soundtrack of your life? And I'm gonna give you eight songs.
8 songs.
8 tracks. Yep.
I can't do particular songs.
Okay.
Because it's probably easier to say artist because I like a lot. If I got like a favorite artist, I like a lot of their work. Going far back for me, Bob Marley because of my West Indian background, and that's all we played in the house. How many you said?
8.
8. Okay, Bob Marley.
Just making numbers up.
Right? 15. I said 15.
No,
I would start with Bob Marley. Then in late 70s, early 80s, a thing called hip hop was born. So The Message and Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, that made me fall in love with hip hop instantly. Push a little bit further up, funk music as well. George Clinton, Parliament, P-Funk. Especially when Atomic Dog came out, I was in junior high and couldn't get enough of that. What else? This group called Art of Noise, they made this joint called Beatbox, and they made different versions of that. That was during the breakdancing era. Once again, me being in junior high. Fast forward to high school, Public Enemy, Rakim, Eric B, Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince. So more hip hop oriented, but late 80s guy, because of how Aaron Hall sang and Teddy Riley producing and the instruments that he played. And, I took up some instruments when I was in junior high school. Who else? Mary J. Blige, the queen of hip hop R&B, Wu-Tang Clan, how they changed the game forever. You got 9 MCs and each can spit. That's crazy. Running back to the hip hop part, Run DMC, because they embodied the b-boy aspect of the hip hop elements. And how many is that? That's probably 12, right?
Yeah, you went over, but I'm gonna I'll stop there. I'll let you.
No, I'll stop there. I'll stop there because I love music, man. So I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Oh, we on to me now? Okay, so
yeah,
wait, what we talking about? We're talking about albums, or we talking about like specific songs, or what are we talking about
You
here?
can listen. Okay, I'll say this. You can do albums. I'll tell you what. Yeah, you can do albums or you can do songs. Since like Rick kind of like gave us a mixture of his track.
Yeah, so like for me, I wouldn't say that I did like a whole. Some albums was good, but I always had like a favorite song that I kind of like. I would just play that song out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned a few already. Um, I mentioned Crazy. I definitely played that song out from Machiavelli. I mentioned Demons Surround Me by Busy Bone. I mentioned Sunshine from Floetry. I actually like this one song, and I don't listen to too much gospel anymore, but I still listen to it every once in a while. It's CC Winans. It's called I Am.
Okay.
I love that song. I be mixing it up sometimes. It depends on what's gonna, you know what I'm saying, lift me to the frequency I need to be at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of who else I kind of listened to, because I couldn't listen to too much growing up, so I had to like sneak a few things because my mother was like in the church, so it was just GP, are you with me? And I didn't want to be doing the Kirk Franklin stomp, but uh yeah, so I feel like there's probably some more songs that I listen to, but they're more like up to date. Just a few artists is like Tim's, and I love my Afro beats. I love, you know, I don't do too much of the rap now, and I kind of just play something out as if it speaks to me, like I kind of told you before. But Nas, You're the Man, that is my song. I love that song. Um, that's one of my favorites. One Mic is I definitely played out some Nas. Yeah, One Mic, I word for word. You're the Man. I love that song. Ether, definitely love that song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of Nas. Um, Anybody that was kind of like educating me on it, and while they're spitting, I'm interested in listening to and just seeing how you ride the beat, and I just go from there. So I don't really just base it off of like the artist. I base it off of the message more so.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right. So my soundtrack of life, like I said, I guess growing up again, I'm gonna have to say Michael Jackson's Bad album. That was like my like favorite, like when I was growing up. Um, Also listening to Salt and Pepper when I was growing up. Like I was really into them when I was younger. And Top Billin' Audio too. Like that was like my favorite rap song. Like growing up, like I was so into that song. Um, and like during like the early '90s, shit. I want to say that was like the pinnacle of like hip hop overall in general. They just got, I don't know, there was just all these groups coming out all at once in like droves. Like I remember, I want to say Capone Noriega was like always like my go-to, like growing up, like especially like entering high school or middle school, high school, and both Bone Thugs and Harmony's first two albums. Like I was like really into those albums. Like every single day, I was like always I had listened to the album straight through for both albums. Particularly my favorite song on there, or the first album, I believe it was "Creeping on a Come Up," and I wouldn't say "Thuggish Ruggish Bone." Everybody liked that song, but that was always a hit too, in my opinion. But the second album, I believe, was East 1990 Eternal. It was First of the Month. Who the Love Is. I love Who the Love Is. First of all, I love how that they implemented that like that harmony. That's what I liked about that with that rap, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Can't forget about Wu Tang. Like that their first album was like classic. Like I don't even think there's like any other like group during that time was like better than them in my opinion. Like I just wow, like you just can't. But Raekwon, his first, he only built the Q. What that album was pretty classic. Like it definitely was. Not and it's funny. Like not a lot of people like I've heard on these blogs looking at them, and you would be surprised the amount of like disagreements like you would have over these like albums. Like they suck, and then I'm like, what are you smoking? Like And I knew something ain't right with them because they picked Tekashi 6ix9ine over these dumbass. Like I just don't get it. But anyway, but yeah, like those are my go-tos. Even Busta Rhymes' first album, like his solo album, The Coming, that was a really good album. Like
Ooh.
yeah, like yes, like and can't forget about Helter Skelter. Like can't forget about them. Like those are really good. Yep. Sean P, Rock and Rock, like yeah. So yeah, those are my go-tos.
I actually
yep. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, do your thing. I'm about to cut you off.
No, I was saying no, it's cool, but yeah. There's like so many other albums, like I can also give I want to say Jay-Z's was it second album? I want to say his second. I believe it was second album. Yeah, it was second album. I think it was In My Lifetime, Volume 2, I believe. Oh, yeah, that was my go-to. So that's it.
So I completely forgot, and I don't know how I forgot this because when I tell you I played this song out to the point where my mother was like so over me. Only God can judge me. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Something telling me you a Tupac fan, huh?
What? Oh my God.
Okay.
I was over there quoting, just a tiny bit, and especially because you had me over here listening to Kirk Franklin, and I'm like, you know what? I'm finna learn all these because only God can judge me. So seeing how you just made me go to church, so I'm about to let you know real quick. So
yeah. Did you ever wonder if heaven had a ghetto?
Listen.
Oh, that was my shit.
I'm just wondering. Did you wonder if heaven had a ghetto?
I was wondering. I'm like, I mean, heaven is what you make it. So if you want it to be ghetto, that's what it's gonna be.
Started off with Tupac, yo. That's like my favorite MC of all time.
Oh my goodness. Tupac, oh my. Now if he would have said, if Jcole would have been up there talking about, I mean, I love me some Michael Jackson, but I don't know. I might have not been listening to Jcole for a little bit if he would have said something about some Tupac.
Right. So you know what, Jcole, we need to take a break.
Listen, I would have like, Michael wouldn't want it this way, so I gotta just, let him say he's entitled to his opinion. But if he would have said I would have been like, hold up. Do you know what he was saying to everybody, including Mobb Deep and everybody else? Like, you better calm down.
Right.
You know the messed up thing I've been hearing, just like you were saying, Sean? Heads are saying, I guess this younger generation talking about he's not lyrical or he's overrated. And I'm like,
who's this now?
Then the younger generation pretty much saying that Pac is not lyrical or he's overrated. I can name like at least 5 songs off the top of my head where he's showing his lyrical skills and whatnot. And that kills me.
It's such a different language though. And we're talking to some people that just don't have that like common sense. Because if you listen to their music, it's like, what agenda are you pushing right now? What agenda are you're doing what they tell you to do. So, and Pac wasn't doing that. I mean, he might have been doing some of it as far as like stirring up a little bit of, tension here and there. But like, what are y'all saying right now? What are you saying? You're not saying anything in your lyrics at all. So, I mean.
And how many years has it been since he's been murdered and we're still talking about him?
25, 30 years almost. Yeah.
And these rappers, they don't get, a lot of these new rappers, they really don't get famous until they pass away. And then you didn't even know that they ever existed until it's like, oh, okay. It's all right. It's all these different letters and alphabets and all these different type of babies. And it's just like it's a lot going on. It's hard for me to keep up with.
Yep. So side note, I remember there was an interview I had watched with Busy Bone when they was in a. I remember they was on a verge of doing the verses with 3 6, and he was promoting it pretty much. He was on a Breakfast Club, and I remember when he was in the studio talking to Angela Yee about the time when Bone Thugs and Tupac was in the studio, and Charlamagne had asked him. He was like, "Do you remember the time when you were able to like work with Tupac and like how did it go down?" And he said, "Listen," he said, when he got to the studio, him and his crew pretty much, they the usual, they was in there smoking their weed, drinking Hennessy. He said Tupac was like all business and no bullshit, but he was saying that like he said you can get that energy from him. Like this dude was like aggressive as shit. He didn't give a fuck. And he said there was a time when he pulled Pac aside and he was like, dude, like, he said this was like a month, it was like a couple months before he passed away. He was like, dude, like, he's like, Tupac, he was like, you gotta like tone it down because like everywhere Tupac went, Tupac he was the turn up dude. Like he didn't give a fuck. He was on demon time every time. He said, I kid you not. He said even when he got to the studio, and he said he felt that from him. He said he knew. He said he didn't want to get into the logistics of the conversation, but he said he knew something really bad was going to happen to Tupac. He said he knew it just from off his energy. He said he just felt it. And on a side note, also like honorable mentions, I do love Tupac's "All Eyes on Me" album, the whole double album. Like that was such a classic album, in my opinion. Arguably, I do think it was better than all his albums, but that's another story, another time, another topic. But.
Better than who?
He said all the
I,
others. All Eyes on Me was
yeah.
It was like every song on there you could definitely you could play that. You're gonna have me go look for that. Listen, oh my goodness.
That's the album right there, Me Against the World.
I wanted to say also Tupacalypse.
Yeah. Against the World. That's when he really got deep with that.
Yeah. I wanted to say also maybe Tupacalypse, but I don't know. Like
Tupacalypse was okay, and I'm a Tupac fan in my opinion, because it might be girl, I'm an extra Tupac fan, but it was good. It just was it seemed like it kind of was Tupac, but it was somebody else. Like it's somebody like I don't know. It just seemed like a little different, just a tiny bit different.
I think what it was, if you notice. I do remember. I don't know if you watched the documentary. What was it, Dear Mama? And I remember they did talk about how like Tupac was like more of a conscious rapper during that time. Aside, like he was kind of like, if you notice, like his album style was kind of like his style of rapping was kind of changing in a sense. Like during that, if you notice, like during that time, he wasn't really like. More of like I would say a thug, like pretty much like when during that time when his first album came out. That didn't start until like his second and third album, I think, in my opinion. Like it was pretty much like he just became that dude after a while. Like I remember like
his thugging and bugging days actually started when he signed with Death Row.
Yeah,
that's when he started thugging and bugging, talking about MOB and all that. But from Tupacalypse now up until Me Against the World, he was still being conscious. But when he signed with All Eyes on Me, my opinion is that he was trying to fulfill a false sense of loyalty, because when he was locked up, nobody was messing with him. So Suge gave him the only opportunity and he jumped on it. So he had to adapt to how Death Row Records was in regards to the content, because you remember, or if you ever heard of Rakim, was at one point signed to Death Row Records.
I remember that.
And the reason why it didn't work out, I don't know how true it is, but this is what the word on the street is. It didn't work out because of creative differences. In other words, Rakim wasn't trying to get down with that gangster shit. So the environment he was in my opinion, laid a big influence on the material he dropped once he signed with Death Row.
I agree with you on that. I also think that it was probably a defense mechanism too. You know what I'm saying? Just because, like you said, he was more into conscious rap and, and trying to see probably what audience he can get, because a lot of people weren't really paying attention to the conscious rap and, Brenda Got a Baby and well, I'm saying Tasha do too, so it's kind of like, but once you start speaking to the, the thugs on the street, how he put it, and, things like that, and you're speaking to a larger audience, and then now everybody's considering themselves a thug, and, you know what I'm saying, you from this street or this set, or, all that extra stuff, they can relate to it. So, and I agree, once he got with Suge, that's when it was kind of like, you have to have your guard up. So he probably was extra, on that demon time before it even existed, because he was messing with demons. He wasn't messing with no real loyal people. You messing with demons, and then you start, you got to be like, well, now I got to act like a demon, because I got to make sure that I'm 10 steps ahead of this demon. So it's kind of like, it's unfortunate what happened, but that's kind of that's the lifestyle that people choose when they start being on that demon time. When you start being on that demon time and that everyone around you is obviously you're gonna put yourself around, what you're doing. So you on that demon time, you're around demons. So
yeah, and it's funny. That's exactly what Busy Bone said. He said once you have that energy around you, he said like it's so easy for a person to even like look at it and understand. Like he was just like with it. Like he said even because I think they said that he recorded Thug Love. I think right after when he recorded like those other songs, and he said that like he just said that feeling. He said you already know when somebody around you has that bad energy, you can kind of feel it in a sense. And he said that he felt that the moment he met Tupac. He said he wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Tupac, but he said you just knew like it wasn't all like positive at that particular point. He was like, yo, like he even said that he tried to talk to Tupac, and he said Busy Bone is not really the one to talk because he had some issues too, like going through that whole phase when he was separated from the group at the time, and he was like being kidnapped when he was young and all that shit. Like it was just a lot of crap he was going through, but that's why he said he was able to recognize those flags when it came to Tupac. You know what I'm saying? But rest in peace to him. I think like.
I mean, too, what happened with him was you got to figure that this dude is like, he probably was suffering from a form of PTSD. And this is before he got shot because of how much of an influence his mother was with the Panthers and how 5 used to constantly mess with him. Then also you seen his mother, who was his hero, getting hooked on crack. You know what I'm saying? And now he's making his moves or what have you, but he gets shot up at the Quad Studio. So now he's thinking like mad heads are coming after him. So he's mad paranoid about who to trust. And then he gets caught up in that sexual assault case. And he did like, a year up in Clinton Correctional Maximum Facility. And he came out. That's bound to change you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said he's a Gemini, so it is what it is. we turn up for a living, but yeah. It is what it is. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna end this shit. We're gonna end it here. We definitely can continue our conversation next week. At the same time, I would say, 4:00 would actually be logical. So we're definitely gonna go ahead and go from there if y'all like,
Shout out to today's sponsor.
Okay then.
Today's sponsor. Holla if you hear me. No, I'm just
well, we giving shout outs. I don't know if I should be giving shout out to Poland Spring. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be saying that something's in the water later. Shout out to Poland Spring. Oh, y'all can't see it, it's blurred out. I know I need some alkaline water and somebody gonna be like, y'all, you was drinking that? Oh, that was poison. Oh shoot.
And shout out to some organic mangoes. I have an obsession with mangoes, so
we're definitely gonna cut this. We ain't gonna be shouting them out. Hold on a sec. We ain't getting
That's free nothing. Advertisement right there, right?
Yep.
Shout out to
a couple bottles at least.
Shout out to the high frequencies. You know what I'm saying? And this and us over here just talking our shit and keeping it real. And shout out to us and shout out to y'all for watching us.
What was the RZA said? Positive energy activates constant elevation. Peace.
Yep.
Facts. Ashe.
All right.
Facts. Salute y'all.
Have a good week. Be blessed.
All right. Likewise, the cat.